Good evening and welcome back. So today we are going to be doing day 2 of the 7 literal 24-hour days of the creation week. And what we are going to be going through today, I'm going to be talking about the verses from Genesis chapter 1, verse 6 through to verse 8. I will be going through in the King James Version, followed by the English Standard Version, and ending with the New Living Translation. And you will understand, in order to be able to get proper context and proper understanding of what is actually being said, will allow us to be able to unpack that accurately. So let's begin. And starting with Genesis chapter 1, verse 6 to 8 in the King James Version. It says, "And God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. And there was evening and the morning were the second day." And that's Genesis chapter 1, verse 6 to 8 in the King James Version. Now let's look at it from the ESV, English Standard Version. It says, "And God said, Let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. And God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse. And so it was. And God called the expanse heaven. And there was evening and there was morning the second day." And that was Genesis chapter 1, verse 6 to 8 in the English Standard Version. And finally, let's look at it from the New Living Translation. It says, "Then God said, Let there be a space between the waters to separate the waters of the heavens from the waters of the earth. And this is what happened. God made this space to separate the waters of the earth from the waters of the heavens. And God called the space sky. And evening passed and morning came, marking the second day." And that's Genesis chapter 1, verse 6 to 8 in the New Living Translation. And you see, you're probably wondering, why am I going through 3 different translations in order to be able to grasp what is actually being said? And the reason is simply with this particular passage and these 3 verses, there's been a very heated debate and a lot of false teaching in actuality, because people have gotten stuck on the word firmament. And in the Hebrew, it's actually rakia, okay? R-A-Q-I-Y-A. And obviously, I'm probably not pronouncing it perfectly for Hebrew with the accents and the different things in the right place. However, many people took it to believe, and this is where a lot of people have improperly used and quoted the Bible in order to try and endorse the lie of flat earth. And you see, the firmament at no time is claiming to be an impenetrable dome. And you will actually see that as we go on through the other days of creation, if you actually take that interpretation here, it gives us a couple of problems a little bit further along. And I will unpack that more as we get to those particular, to those verses and those days of the creation week. But one of the things that we need to look at here is, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that will try and manipulate the scripture to say, oh, you see, the Bible actually teaches that the earth is flat, which it does not. Not in any way. There are no scriptures that teach or even allude to the earth being flat. Anybody who tries to say so is actually misleading you and is actually teaching something that is 100% contrary to scripture. So right away, as soon as you hear somebody saying that, you need to actually get in the Bible. You need to read it for yourself, and you need to stop listening to those who are lying to you. Okay? Science will always confirm the Bible. Okay? And the awesome thing is that when you look at a translation like the New Living Translation, it gives us a little bit more clarity, where it talks about sky. Okay? And it allows us to be able to unpack the ideas of atmosphere, stratosphere, and everything that we actually see in our living world. Remember, God is the author of the Bible. there would be no chance that he made a mistake to describe something that could actually be proved scientifically wrong. That would actually make God a liar. And we already know that Scripture says God cannot lie. So we need to be able to make sure that we are digging in and understanding things in the way that God Himself explained them. And sometimes we can't just simply focus on one particular verse. And you'll see that as we're going to go through all of this, it's very hard if we, as I'm doing it just day by day, yes. But what I'm going to encourage you to do at the end is actually to read all the way through. Because context, context, context. One verse will always allow explanation and clarification of the other. Like if I'm having a conversation with you and I just simply say, you walk in on the part where I say, yes. Well, you don't know what I said yes to. You don't know whether it was, yes, I'm ready for supper. Yes, I'm ready to go. Yes, I'm ready for bed. Yes, I'm ready to go to work. You have no idea because you are missing the portion of the conversation before I answered yes. Okay, that's what I want you to be able to see in the process of looking at this. One of the things that I've also done is in the text of everything that I've written for this evening, I've provided you two different links. One to a ministry called Answers in Genesis, dealing with the search for the word firmament. And there are many, many, many documents, useful documents, that will allow you to be able to dig deeper and to truly be able to get to the root of why people tried to manipulate the Bible to actually say that it was a solid canopy. It was an impenetrable dome. And sadly, many people still think that. And a lot of people actually falsely believe and accuse the Bible of having purported and taught flat earth theory. They did not. Okay? The Bible at no time and in no way endorses or teaches the theory of flat earth. Flat earth theory is a lie, straight from the pit of hell. And you need to understand that. Okay? You'll also see there is a link to creation.com. And again, looking through the word firmament. If you use other words you want to be able to look up while you're there, by all means, go ahead. Those are there as resources to help you to be able to unpack it. But all I want you to be able to understand with what we're talking about here is the fact that there is a very limited amount of information in these three verses. You cannot make bold claims with just the information that is here in these three verses. We need verses before, we need verses after, we need the whole chapter put together to gain full understanding. And at the same time, I'm also going to add to this particular post a document dealing with the lie of flat earth that'll actually be able to dig in and unpack it even further. That resource will be there as a PDF that you can download and read at your very leisure. So, I would just like to conclude for today. There was evening, and there was morning, the second day. Have a good evening. See you tomorrow.